this one is going to hurt. This is going to be painful. This is going to be the equivalent of smashing your best friend in the face with a cinder block. He's not going to enjoy it. I'm not going to get any pleasure from doing this, but for some reason, I just can't stop myself. I'm going to do it anyway. I'm sorry to say it. I love Steven Spielberg, but Disclosure Day isn't it, Chief? Spoiler warning, we are going to talk about Disclosure Day. I will put out there, this is not a bad film. I would recommend going and watching it yourself to try and get a vibe of what you feel towards it, because I set the bar very high. But the more I've thought about it, man, even with the bar set high, I still think for Spielberg, I found myself thinking one thing. If Steven Spielberg wasn't attached to Disclosure Day, would people be giving it the shaft work that it's currently receiving? So let's get into the plot. Like I said, we've already given a spoiler warning, so from here on out, we are going to talk about spoilers, so please don't let me ruin the film for you. But the plot is that Colin Firth's shady government group has hardcore video proof that aliens exist amongst us. For years, they've worked to keep this knowledge out of the public domain through fear of what it would do to the human race. Josh O'Connor's character steals this information and with the help of Colman Domingo, plan to reveal it to the world. Meanwhile, Emily Blunt has harnessed extreme extraterrestrial superpowers, basically turning her into a goddamn X-Man, and joins the group in disclosing the information. The whole film is Colin Firth's high-tech, high-grade intelligence group chasing Josh O'Connor and Emily Blunt on foot. So straight off the rip, the biggest issue for me in this film by far, Colin Firth's shady government group could possibly be one of the most nonsensical, useless NPCs I've witnessed in recent film history. The only thing that they've got that they use well to their disposal is this one thing that Colin Firth is using, and it's this alien object, and when he holds it and he looks at someone's profile for whatever reason, a dating profile or a Tinder profile or whatever, he hacks into them, and they call it diving in. Now, because it's a sci-fi film, I think it works quite well. I did like the idea of it. I didn't think it was too over the top. I think sometimes if films tried doing that, especially with the aliens and stuff, they could do quite over the top. I think Spielberg did a good job with it. He didn't use it too much. But that's the only thing this group does right. The scene, the motel scene is, first of all, pisses me off. It's ridiculous because Josh O'Connor's character and Jane are in the room. Josh O'Connor's character, I can't remember what he's called, goes to the extreme lengths of hiding the telephone, hiding everything that gives their location away. And then she says to Josh O'Connor, we can't trust me anymore because in the film, Colin Farrell has... Yes, Kyle, I will address the elephant in the room. There's probably going to be a couple of times where I'm going to call Colin Firth Colin Farrell. I've always done it since the beginning of time. So unfortunately, you're going to have to suck lemons. Compromised her, he can now hack into it. I'm not going to say Colin Farrell can dive into it because it just doesn't sound right. You know what I mean? I don't want to get cancelled. So she tells Josh O'Connor, like, basically has a rope, she ties it round her hand, and basically, like, is hinting towards, you have to tie me up because we can't trust me. Now, that's all well and good, but you understand that Colin Firth, in your sleep, can hack into you, which is what he does. And for some strange bastard reason, Spielberg, I love you, Stephen, I love you, but Josh O'Connor's character is led there with a piece of paper in his hand on the bed next to her that says the name of the motel, and not once, as they were going to sleep, did O'Connor think, you know what, maybe I should put this in my pocket, maybe I should put... For some reason, he's held onto it the entire time, falls asleep, and then when Colin Firth hacks into her, they find out where they are. That is the only time this shady government group ever do anything useful, and it's through Colin Firth using the alien technology. This group, like I said, is rubbing shoulders with the FBI, the president. They have all this technology. Multiple times when they introduce this government group that Colin Firth exists in, they have these like massive screens, and it shows all the high tech stuff that they've got. They don't use it once. I'm sorry, they don't use it once at all. Colman Domingo and his little band of merry men, they use burner phones all the time, so it kind of gives the notion that Colin Firth's shady group can like hack phones and whatever. We don't see that. They barely use it. It's so frustrating. They are constantly chasing Josh O'Connor and Emily Blunt's character down on foot, and it's frustrating because it makes no sense. They literally have all this technology and they're not using it. It's just really frustrating. The other frustrating thing as well was just before. I think it's just before we get to the train scene. The train scene was really good, which we'll jump into. But I don't get it. If this wasn't Spielberg, I'd probably be ripping it to shreds. Just before we get to the train scene, they've now kidnapped Josh O'Connor, right? And they've got him in this thing, and they're injecting him. I'm assuming because they want to find out like what's going through, like whatever, take the information out of him. And Emily Blunt's character is now starting to harness these powers, and she finally gets there, and she makes her way through, and we start to see the abilities come through. And she stood in front of Colin Firth, and she projects Colin Firth's, I'm assuming, deceased wife in front of him. And Colin Firth all of a sudden has a change of heart, and he grabs, by the way, it's Mark Donovan from the Inbetweeners. Oi, Donovan, get amongst it, lad. I'm buzzing that he's starting to get his moment in Hollywood. Brilliant. He grabs Donovan, obviously, and pushes him away. He's like, don't touch her. So basically now Emily Blunt, we basically get it as the audience as, okay, Emily Blunt now can portray these visions of your loved ones, so you're not going to go near him, you're not going to touch him. So she grabs Josh O'Connor and they go, oh, we know each other. There's an issue with the trailer as well, which I'll get into in a sec, but we know each other and whatever. And they leave the trailer, and the band of merry men, the ruthless NPCs that are constantly chasing Josh O'Connor and Emily Blunt throughout this whole film, all of them try to grab her. She's doing all this betrayal stuff, so they all leave her. She gets into a car with Josh O'Connor. They drive off. All the NPCs stand there, dick in hand, watching, waving goodbye. Colin Firth stood there with Mark Donovan. Donovan asks him, why did you let him go, or whatever he said, and Colin Firth says something. They watch them leave. Donovan chases them. We have the train scene, and then for some reason, without any explanation, all of a sudden now, Colin Firth and the NPCs are right back to, we have to grab them. You had them! Yeah, what? I don't get it. I just... There was so many things like that in this film that just didn't make any sense. We fast forward after the train scene. Josh O'Connor and Emily Blunt now find their way to Coleman Domingo, and now they're face to face with him, and they are with the band of merry men, and they've built this house, which is a replicant of Emily Blunt's house when she was a kid, because they want to reenact what happened when Emily Blunt got, I think it was she got, what's it called, when they beam them up. She got extraterrestrialized. I can't think of the terminology. She got kidnapped. Screw it. It's not the term, but I'll run with it. She got kidnapped by the aliens that apparently are animals, woodland creatures. I'm starting to think of South Park. And another thing that didn't make sense to me personally, it's really painful to say, man, because I love Spielberg, but there is. Let me just get away from this microphone a little bit, man, because I don't want to scream down your ear. Emily Blunt gets off the fire truck. She's with the band of merry men in front of the house. She isn't looking Coleman Domingo's character in the face. She starts asking questions. Coleman Domingo says, why won't you look me in the face? And she said, because you're the guy who has the answers and I don't want all the answers. Not 5 seconds removed, she then asks him questions, going, what is all this? What are you doing? Look him in the face and get the answers. You've just told us that you won't look him in the face because he has the answers, but then you're asking him questions that you want answers to. It was something really stupid and it didn't make much sense. But regardless, man, I've gone off track. Look, the first negative I had, out of all that, what I've just said, the most negative thing I had was the Colin Firth group by far is the most... They are just so stupid. I think it would have worked a lot better if Colin Firth had Mark Donovan from the Inbetweeners and maybe two other side men next to him. It made it look so bad when you had this whole group of technology savvy people in the hub, and they've got these big screens and they're monitoring the world, and they've got this alien evidence that it looks a human, like even the Pope isn't allowed to see. Like, religion will crumble if this gets out into the public, and this is the people. How have they kept this out of the hands of the people for so many years? Crazy to me, man. So anyway, look, the Colin Firth group, I'm done talking about them. I don't want this to go 5,000 hours. The other negative I've got is Josh O'Connor. I love Josh O'Connor. I loved him in Wake Up Dead Man, obviously, in Knives Out. I think he's got a really good future in Hollywood. I don't know why some people don't like him. I'm a really big fan of him. And Josh O'Connor's character in this felt like he was holding water. He does have some stuff to him, don't get me wrong. He has got a bit of structure to him. I liked the character, but I felt as though you can get to the exact same places in this film without him being there, unfortunately. I get the whole idea of it, of, you know, him and Emily Blunt were what's the term that I'm thinking of? Not kidnapped. Taken up in the spaceship. Abducted. Son of a bitch. Abducted. Yeah, they were abducted. I get it. I understood it, but it felt as though Josh O'Connor's character was nowhere near Emily Blunt's. It felt as though Emily Blunt was the main character and everyone else was just like around her, like getting her to this point. And Josh O'Connor, even though they were abducted at the same time, it felt as though he wasn't even half as important as Emily Blunt. So that was another negative that bothered me a little bit. It felt as though he was there more for the audience. At times he'd be asking her questions or she'd be asking him questions. And obviously, if it was just Emily Blunt in a car trying to escape Colin Firth's band of merry NPCs, maybe it wouldn't have rubbed off so well. So again, I think they could have beefed up O'Connor's character a little bit better. But again, it's not. That's a hill that I'm not bothered about dying on. That's not as bad as the Colin Firth group. They were awful, man. Another negative for me, the ending I thought was absolutely horrific. Spielberg, what are you doing to me, brother? What are you doing? You look back at all the great Steven Spielbergs throughout history. A lot of them have got so many great endings. Why he chose to end it the way he did? The one thing that gives me confidence that I don't think that's a controversial take is when I was in the cinema, when the credits hit after she says what she says, I must have let out a noise and I must have said something in regards to what? Like, I was really disappointed in that ending. I did it, and there was a couple a few rows down from me, and they did something similar. I can't remember what they said. I can't remember if like maybe one of them giggled or something, but there was another group of people that it let out this almost like is the term exasperated? Spell it, you can have that for free. It felt as though they had the exact same feeling as me, and there were only about 10 people in the cinema anyway. It was the earliest showing, that's nothing against the film itself. Again, like I said at the start, if this wasn't Spielberg, I don't think this film would be getting the shaft work. I saw that it had 90% on Rotten Tomatoes before, and now I think it's gone to 85, so I think that'll still drop a little bit. I'm really surprised. I've seen people saying this is one of Spielberg's best films. The guy who let us into the cinema said he's heard that this is one of Spielberg's highest rated films. Maybe he's just in the Rotten Tomatoes thing. I don't think this is going to be seen as one of Spielberg's best films. I really don't. I think in the next few years, when the dust settles, I think a lot of people are going to look at this and go, it wasn't a bad film, it was a good film. But for Spielberg, this is not at the level. That's just my personal opinion. There's probably a lot more negatives to get into, but I don't want to make this 5 hours long. I'll get into one more negative. The character of Jane, like Josh O'Connor, for me, did feel very irrelevant, very redundant, very pointless, and her final thing that she did, really bugged me. In fact, you know what? I've thought of two more negatives, which I'm going to get into quickly. The character of Jane, I understand the character of Jane because she represents the whole idea of religion, and I really like this notion. I got brought up in a religious household, and since then I'm a black sheep. I don't believe, and I believe that there is something after life, but that's another conversation for another time. But I like the idea of the Jane character being here because she does represent the idea of religion. And when it comes to in real life, away from movie and film and Steven Spielberg, I think tomorrow, if aliens were definitively proven that they exist, if an alien showed up on a news screen tomorrow and it proved it wasn't AI, I think religion would take a massive hit, the biggest hit it would have ever taken in existence. I don't think religion would completely die off, but I think the structure, I think you'd see some cookie crumble starting to happen right now. I think the foundations would start to, domino effect. So I like the idea of the character of Jane being there, but because if you are going to have a character like that, and who am I, by the way, to give Steven Spielberg advice on anything? I'm not, I'm just a chump. But to have that character of Jane represent something so serious and then hardly give her anything to do. Again, the biggest thing that happens with her is she gets hijacked by Colin Firth. I think personally, if you're really looking at it in the black and white of things, why not make it where Emily Blunt is the one with the alien powers, Josh O'Connor's character isn't involved, and then maybe make Jane that character where Jane is with Emily Blunt. She's asking Emily Blunt the questions, and Emily Blunt's asking her some questions, and Colin Firth can hack into Jane. So again, I feel as though the character of Jane could have easily been represented by Josh O'Connor or vice versa. You bring in the idea of that character has been brought upon religion, and they're the ones that bring the religion argument to the table, because it did feel like I was being told and bashed over the head throughout this film. Aliens, aliens. It's the meme, innit? Aliens, with the guy with the hair. it did feel like I was being bashed over the head a lot of, if this was real life, if aliens were to be proved real, religion, that there's a big issue with religion. And I do agree with it. So me and Stephen, we're out on the same path with that one. So I like the idea of the character of Jane, but she doesn't add anything other than the religious aspect. So it just felt like there's characters here that are just holding water. But because I've mentioned Jane, there's two other things that I want to bring up. And we bring it right back to the Colin Firth group again. At the end, the Colin Firth group, once again, they've got all this technology and blah, blah, blah. And their final dance card is they go to the news station as Emily Blunt. I've just thought of another negative, man. Why were they taking so long? You know, when Emily Blunt gets to the news offices and she's saying, I need to get on air and blah, blah, blah. This is news that they want to get out quick as possible because they know they're being hunted down. And Emily Blunt's like, they ask her, do you want makeup? And she says, yeah. Dude, fuck all that. Just get on air right away. Emily Blunt can do the thing where she can talk to people. She's done it the whole way through the film. She's done it for 2.5 hours. Just warp the mind of someone and tell them, I need to go on air in the next 30 seconds. Screw makeup. I need to get this information out there right now. Don't they put a blazer on her as well? That really annoyed me. But then it's like, you get the scene of the shady government all in black, as they always do, because they don't wear anything else. They don't know any other colour other than black and dark grey. They're the bad guys because they're the menacing ones. You get this scene of them, that one scene of that guy, like, being a free runner, jumping over cage, like, okay, fair enough, like, we're setting the tone, I get that. But this high-tech, incredible group that have hid this information for so many years are using tiny explosives to blow up the generators so they can't send the news feed out to the world. You are rubbing shoulders with the President of the United States and the FBI and the CIA and everything else. Surely you have some form of power where you can just say to the news anchors, Emily Blunt is about to go into your offices. Colin Farrell didn't have to go to the office. He could have rung someone and gone, Emily Blunt's about to be in the news office. Don't let her on air. If you do, we know where your family is. That's it. That's all you need to do. But for whatever reason, again, Steven Spielberg, God love him, he just didn't think like that and he wanted to do it his way. Spielberg, I love you. I can't tell you anything. I can't tell you how to make a film. But I thought it was really, really stupid. It didn't make any sense to me at all. And then finally, what was your other negative? Oh, yeah, the trailers. Man, oh my good God. I'm glad that I'm finishing with this. This is the last negative that I'm finishing with. Again, I need to make it clear, this is a good film. It sounds like it's an awful film. It's one of the worst films I've ever watched. I swear to God, it's not. If anyone's new to me, if you're not used to me on the MCT gaming channel, then you obviously don't know what I'm like. This is just me ranting. I think it's a good film. It's not an awful film. It's not the worst film I've ever seen. It just sounds like I'm going over the top. But the final negative that I'll end on is yesterday I was sat there and I knew that I'd already had my tickets booked for Disclosure Day. I was going to watch it today. And yesterday I was sat there and we had YouTube on and I thought, you know what, I'll just put the trailer on. I'll put the recent trailer on because I hadn't watched it. I'd only watched the teaser trailer and that was a few months back. I wish I hadn't watched that trailer yesterday. I really wish I hadn't. Because in that trailer, they spoil one of the biggest plots in the whole film. In the final trailer, they literally show you Josh O'Connor as a kid, Emily Blunt as a kid, with the aliens. One of the coolest things about this is about half an hour or 45 minutes into the film, Coleman Domingo sends the video of Emily Blunt speaking the alien gibberish to Josh O'Connor. No one can understand it. It's the talk, right? And Josh O'Connor sees it and goes, I don't know what you're talking about. All she said was this. And then all of a sudden the audience, me, you, Coleman Domingo, clicks in. And we go, oh my God, he can understand what she's saying. Has he been diddled with? Have the aliens done a bit of Elton John? You know what I mean? So that was a really cool plot twist. The issue for me was I already saw that plot twist happen 24 hours ago in the final trailer. You showed me that Josh O'Connor as a kid and Emily Blunt as a kid were already with the aliens. So they weren't a plot twist for me. So I was really gutted about that. So one of the biggest negatives that I'll end with is the trailers for me. It was the Hulk Iron Man thing from Avengers 1. It ruined the film. Not ruined the film for me, but it ruined a big plot twist for me. Imagine if I hadn't have seen that in the trailer and I went in watching that film today and all of a sudden I didn't realise that Josh O'Connor had been touched by aliens. Like, how much would I have been like, how would I have marked out for it? I'd be like, oh my God, I didn't see that coming. But because I saw it in the trailer, I knew it was going to happen. So next time we make a Steven Spielberg film, can we just put one trailer out and make it about a minute long? Because why the fuck are we putting spoilers in trailers? It's, Hollywood, fix up. Right, there's probably more negative to talk about, but I'm done talking about negative, so I'll quickly end on some positives. This has been painful to me to talk about, man. I know it might not come across that way, but I love cinema, I love film, I love movie, and Steven Spielberg, I've grown up on his films. I love Steven Spielberg, and I just can't believe how negative I am towards this film, and I can't believe that this is how I felt towards a Spielberg film, going and watching it in the cinema the first day of release. So anyway, the few positives that I will bring up. Every scene means something. I referenced this in my Out of the Theatre review. Every scene meant something in this film. I think if you take a lot of directors today, a lot of big directors today, and you give them a 2.5 hour film, I think you'll get a lot of irrelevant scenes. You'll get a lot of random dialogue that overall doesn't make sense. I think every scene in this film had something that was pivotal towards the main story. That shows the class of the man. That shows that Spielberg was in here, and even though it was a 2.5 hour film, he knew every scene has to make something count. Every scene has to have something that's important, and I think he actually nailed it. So again, that is the sign of a really, really good director. Again, you can have a bit of ass kissing there, Stephen, for that one. I thought Emily Blunt was brilliant. I'm not going to go so far as say Emily Blunt carried the film. I think it was just the structure of the film, the writing of it. It was always going to be that Emily Blunt character was just always going to be the main focus of the film regardless. But I think she absolutely nailed it out of the park. She smashed it, man. She did such a good job. The train scene, and it's funny because I've got in my notes here the train scene. The train scene, the train scene I've got in my notes, and then in brackets I've put I guess ? So the train scene, I guess. The train scene was good, don't get me wrong, but again, I think unfortunately, because this film I've not really mentioned this either, because the film is quite slow, which I don't mind, that train scene stands out because there's not a lot of that going on. Now, if you take it to something like Ready Player One, for example, I did say this as well in the Out of the Theatre review, you aren't going to get the Ready Player One visuals. You aren't going to get that Ready Player One action in this film. This isn't that kind of film. I think a few people, I've seen some reviews. I in the past couple of hours, I went and looked at other people's reviews, and a few people are being negative because they thought it was going to be an alien invasion film. I didn't get that from the trailers at all, so I wasn't on that bandwagon. But yeah, the train scene was good, but it stood out because there wasn't that many like high octane action scenes, which weren't the end of the world, but I thought the train scene was done quite well. Again, Mark Donovan from The Inbetweeners. What a piece of shit. And finally, I'm going to end on this. I thought the story overall was really good. It's quite original. Normally, 9 times out of 10, when you see alien films, it's either the aliens have got no harm towards humans and they've come down to Earth and it's humans not being able to take it right, or it's aliens are trying to invade us and trying to kill us all. This is quite an original, cool concept from Steven Spielberg because the idea isn't exactly the aliens, it's the knowledge of the aliens. And releasing this film today with all this stuff going on, that, you know, we still want the real UFO files being released and stuff. A lot of people feel as though we're not being told what's really going on. I think it's a really cool time to release a film like this. So again, the idea of the film isn't exactly the aliens, it's the effect, the proof of the existence would have on the human existence, the human reality. And I really like that, man. So I liked the story. I thought it was really cool for an original story. But unfortunately, I really thought that I would have watched this film today and come away and told everyone, go and watch this film in the cinema right now because you need to, because it's a visual spectacle and it's brilliant and it's Steven Spielberg and he's back to his best and it's incredible. And I don't feel that way one bit at all. I think if you're going to go and watch this film in the cinema, you should watch it because you want to make your own mind up of it. But yeah, I don't know what more to say. I am a little bit gutted, but that's on me. I set the bar far too high. This film will probably make a decent amount of money. I don't think it's going to carry for weeks and weeks. I think it'll probably drop next week. Not out of the cinema, I just mean in general. And again, look, Steven Spielberg, God love him, you know, still one of the greatest of all time. One of. The Disclosure Day isn't that bad where it hinders his record, far from it. I still think it is a good film. I would happily watch it again. But again, I'll end on this. I think if this wasn't a Steven Spielberg film, I don't think it would be getting the shaft work that it's been getting from everyone else. But anyway, look, that's just my personal opinion. You don't have to agree with it. At the end of the day, it's pixels on a screen. That's it. I'll see you. Look at your scumbag!